Welcome to Ready for the Weekend here on the Played Sports YouTube channel, the show where myself and Kev look at and preview the weekend's must-see sporting action. Coming up this week, we have action in cricket, MMA, rugby and football. We hope you enjoy. Alright, so we start off this week with T20 Finals Day in the Vitality Blast. Two semi-finals and the finals taking place at Edgbaston on Saturday, with Hampshire taking on Somerset in the first game and Kent taking on Sussex in the second. Then the winner of each playing off for the final. It's always a really, really cool event. I mean, to get that amount of cricket in one day, great, love it. So Hampshire and Somerset, fourth versus second in the Southern Group stage. Hampshire won 6, lost 5, and pulled off pretty much the shock of the entire tournament, knocking out Notts in the quarterfinals in the last over, winning by 2 runs. Not the huge star power in this team that has, come to associate with T20 cricket. Darcy Short, James Vince, quality opening batsmen, and Dawson and Crane, two really, really quality spin bowlers. But the rest of the team lacks a lot of that sort of star power, game-changing ability that you would come to expect with teams reaching finals day. Somerset, on the other hand, finished second and won 8 of 14 and hammered Lancashire in the in the quarterfinal. Big, powerful top three with Banton, Lammonby, and Abel. The power of Tom compels them, as well as Will Smead, who has looked fantastic. Lewis Gregory, really, really solid short form captain, and an absolutely stacked pace bowling lineup of Overton, Gregory, Delanga, and Brooks. Really, with them, quality all-round side, they're going to be able to rack up big runs, but also bowl teams out and keep things cheap. Hampshire, I don't think really have that. They are going to look to keep scores low and hope that the big two in Short and Vince can get them over the line. That reason, I'm going to take Somerset in semi-final 1. And then looking at the second semi-final, where we have Kent and Sussex. Kent topped the group with 9 wins, knocking out Birmingham in the quarterfinals. Beldrum, the highest scorer left in the tournament runs-wise, and of course you got to hope Darren Stevens can get included, but it's highly unlikely. I mean, 46 years old, still going strong, but I doubt they'll risk him in the the pressure environment of finals day, having not played a huge amount of T20 cricket for them. Much more of a batting side, although they do have 2 quality bowlers in Milnes and Case Ahmed, who both have took a lot of wickets, and Ahmed in particular looked fantastic against Birmingham. They're going to look to go big at the top of the order and hope that they can keep things restricted and really, really keep them quiet, and hope that they can basically rack up enough runs that the bowling doesn't need to shine on the day. Sussex finished third, 6 wins. Basically this is really last chance saloon for them, with a lot of their players jumping ship. A couple of bigger name players in like Luke Wright, Ravi Papara, and then Phil Salt, who has emerged as a fantastic batsman over the last sort of 2 seasons. But again, much more of a bowling side. You're looking at Garton, Mills, Vice, Rashid Khan, if he's available, but I haven't actually read anywhere if he's going to be there or if him and Garton are both going to be on IPL duty, so that could really affect them come Saturday. But with domestic cricket, you can very rarely find any useful information on this sort of thing. They're going to look to rattle through sides and hope that their big 3 batters in Wright, Papara, and Salt can get them over the line. I don't. This is a tough one, but I think Kent are going to take this. Powerful batting, couple of bowlers, so I think we're going to end up with a Kent versus Somerset final, and I think Somerset are going to take it. So but again, it's always a pick 'em on finals day. Whoever turns up out of the 4 teams on the day is going to come away with the trophy, but I do think I'm going to go Kent-Somerset final, with Somerset winning in the end.
In T20 cricket, we have 2 semi-finals and finals over the weekend. We have Hampshire versus Somerset, and then we have Kent versus Sussex. Hampshire came fourth in the group stage. They shocked everyone by beating the current champions, Nottinghamshire. They relied on their 2 main bowlers to win their games. Somerset, however, are good overall. They haven't won since 2005. It's been a while. They came second in their group stage. pretty decent, and I think they will actually overcome Hampshire. In the next semi-finals, we have Kent versus Sussex. Kent haven't won it since 2007. But if they want to win some silver here, this is probably the year to do it, as there are a lot of players in their team want to leave. And Sussex hasn't won it since 2009. Since Kent and Sussex, I would probably go for Sussex winning their semi-finals and the finals. I was heard that it was a really, really good team, pretty decent in the group stage, so I would probably go for them.
Right, so next up we are looking at women's rugby as Ireland take on Italy in the qualification stages for the 2022 Women's Rugby World Cup in New Zealand next year. Winner of the qualifiers goes straight into Group B, where they will face Canada, America, and the winner of the Asian qualifications, while the runner-up will be stuck into the continental playoff for a spot in Group A. Ireland drawn alongside Italy, Spain, and Scotland in the group, and this will be the second of the group games. Italy won big over Scotland, 38-13, whereas Ireland lost a close game to Spain, really low-scoring affair. This should be an extremely tight game, with Ireland ranked 9th in the rankings and Italy one spot higher in 8th. But just based on, well, one, the ranking of being slightly higher, and two, the performances in the opening round, I think I'm going to take Italy here, and I think they're probably going to win by a try or less.
Next we have qualifications for the Women's World Cup in rugby, Italy versus Ireland. Italy doing very well in women's rugby, ranked 8th with Ireland ranked 9th. Ireland have to win this in the group stage. They have Spain and Scotland, pretty decent group. And Italy already won their opening game. Actually, it was a trashing result. It was 38-13. Ireland probably would make, despite the rankings, I think they might actually overcome Italy, but I think it's very, very small margins. I would say even less than 2 points, to be honest. It was very, very close, but I think Ireland will actually get over the edge.
We covered a lot of MMA over here, and again, we're sticking with Bellator with Phil Davis and Yoel Romero, as Romero makes his much anticipated Bellator debut. Light heavyweight main event for this weekend's card, and yeah, both men missed out on advancing to the semi-finals of their Grand Prix. Davis losing a decision to Vadim Nemkov, whereas Romero ended up pulling out of his fight with Anthony Johnson, so missed out on the Grand Prix altogether. Not quite the spectacle main event and debut for Romero that we thought we were going to get. That Johnson fight would have been huge. But still, Phil Davis, really, really tough opponent for him, and one I think will be a challenge. Davis, 36, 22, and 6 record. Lost in the shuffle a bit at Bellator at the moment, having lost twice to the champion, so he's not really going to get another crack at the top guy in the division unless Nemkov drops the belt. Been with Bellator since 2015, past Grand Prix winner, former champion, top quality wrestler, and has some KO power, so while he's probably not a top guy anymore, he's still, like, I don't want to say gatekeeper, but he's in that shuffle at the top of the division, just not likely to get a title shot while Nemkov's reigning. Romero, on the other hand, 44 years old and still one of the scariest athletes on the planet. Is on a 3-fight losing streak, but if you look at the guys that he has lost to on that streak, it is literally the who's who at the top of the UFC middleweight rankings in Adesanya, Whitaker, and Costa. I'm taking Romero here. I think he's going to win by KO, but it'll be a super interesting thing to see him jump up to a division where he's going to look even bigger and more powerful. And, you know, he's not giving up a huge amount of size, only a 2-inch height difference, so he's not going to be, you know, dwarfed in this fight. But yeah, I think Romero's going to be a scary prospect for the short run he will have in Bellator, but I think he gets through Davis, and I think he KOs him.
In the Bellator card, we have Davis versus Romero. Davis unfortunately lost twice now to Nemkov, which brought him back down to the Bellator card. Very high striking knockout punches. These guys are pretty big dudes, so definitely big hard punches. Same from Romero. He's also massive punches from himself, even though he could choose to use his wrestling skills, use them in the Olympics and other gold events, but instead he uses his striking power. Despite his age, I still think he might actually go over the edge over Davis. I don't think it's going to be a knockout. I don't think it will be, but I think it's going to be a win for him. But it's going to be very, very fun to watch these two big dudes after each other.
So we are going to stick with MMA next as we look at the UFC main event for the weekend, as well as Anthony Smith takes on Ryan Spann. Not a huge blockbuster fight card this week for the UFC. One of them where very much things are just sort of ticking over, give guys fights, keep the TV schedule reliable. But it's still a relatively interesting fight here. Smith sort of got drawn back into the pack a little bit, having been a top guy for quite a while, got himself back-to-back wins, and is now main eventing a card again. I mean, how the dude is still 33 years old when he's got like 50 career fights, I have no idea. I mean, that's more fights than most guys have in a career after they retire. But yeah, he went and had that freaky win over Jimmy Crute when his just leg got messed up badly in his last fight, and he's back in the mix. And sort of in, again, like a gatekeepery role similar to Davis. Spann, on the other hand, 19-6, his first UFC main event, and he won his last fight against Serkinov by KO in less than a minute, sort of catapulting him into people's attention. Difference is, in this he also has a major submission threat. 11 of his 19 wins have come by submission. I do think Anthony Smith is going to edge this one out, though. I think it's going to be one of those sort of grinded out decision wins where sort of a bit of a hype train gets derailed by a guy that isn't really going anywhere but is sort of hanging in and around that top 10. I don't think Smith's ever going to be a champ at 205, but I do think he's going to be a guy that sort of bats away a lot of the up and coming talent that aren't quite ready to make that step. And with Spann, 19-6 record, I don't think he's quite going to be a top guy. And I think Smith's going to sort of deal with him and shut him down. And it might not be the most entertaining fight, but I think he's going to pretty much grind this one out and take the win by decision.
In a UFC, we have Smith and Spann in the light heavyweight. We've got experience, and we got a fighter who is his first main event card. Smith, despite his experience, he's very good with a knockout and submission. And he's only 33, even with his massive experience. For Spann, he's his first main event. He's very, very good at submission. And I think he might actually use that submission against Smith. I think it won't be a knockout, but I think Spann would actually go over Smith despite his experience. Because watching his last fight, his knockout in just under 1 minute, was pretty decent, and I think he might actually use that.
Okay, so we wrap up things this week with a London derby as Tottenham take on Chelsea in the Premier League. Tottenham, solid start to the season, 3 wins, and then that really sort of humbling loss to Crystal Palace after the Tanganga sending off. Been far from entertaining, though. I mean, they've only scored 3, and then they conceded the 3 against Palace, who've been the only team that have actually scored past them this season in the league. They do have their sort of momentum and preparation derailed a little bit by the Conference League as they face Rennes on Thursday night, meaning the squad that they do have might still be in flux by the time that the Chelsea game becomes available. Their strength and depth is really going to be tested here as they look at the likes of Romero, Son, Bergwijn, Lo Celso, and Sanchez, all questionable or confirmed to be out. Chelsea, on the other hand, sit second in the table, hammered Villa at the weekend, which was just slightly painful, and have played Zenit on the Tuesday night, winning 1-0 with Lukaku scoring. Again, no major injuries of note. Seem to have pretty much everyone available, just a question of whether they'll want to rotate with them then playing Villa again midweek in the League Cup. But yeah, I'm taking Chelsea here. I think they'll look away 2-0 winners, look pretty convincing doing so. Tottenham, plenty of absentees and not the deepest squad anyway, and playing Thursday night always messes with teams. So yeah, I'm going to take Chelsea here, and I'm going to say they come away with 2-0 winners.
We've got a London derby with Tottenham versus Chelsea. With Lukaku back at Chelsea and Kane staying in Tottenham, it's very hard to decide what's going to happen here. with Chelsea would dominant for us with their new signing as well with Lukaku. I would wish I can actually say that they will win by a while, but Tottenham have a really good team. Despite their injuries and their surprising loss against Crystal Palace with a 3-0 loss, both teams are doing very well in the group stage with their first two wins in the group. First three, apologies. I think Chelsea might overcome them. It's very slightly though. I really think it's a very good contest, especially the fact that it's a derby. We never know what could happen, but I think Chelsea would get maybe a 1-0 win.
Okay, so that wraps up episode 17 of Ready for the Weekend. Let us know your predictions below, comment, like, subscribe, do all that YouTubey stuff that people ask people to do. Always helpful, I suppose. But yeah, drop us below anything you want us to cover in the future, and I'm trying to get Kev to cover some NFL stuff, but all the research on that will be a pain, looking up stats and stuff, so yeah, keeping him up to date on that might not be the easiest thing to do. But yeah, anyway, till then, see you next time.